Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote.
Hello everyone, welcome to Across the Park podcast. Special episode for you today. In the build-up, we're recording at the moment just before the Arsenal game, so we won't mention the Arsenal game too much because I'm not sure when this will be released. But just to give you a bit of context, there, I'm privileged to be joined by Chris Hannon today. Chris is one of the guys, and it was responsible as part of the movements of the fan protests. Again, I'm really looking forward to speaking to Chris. We obviously attended the Hot Walk last week, myself and Millsy. It feels like last week, and it was a bit longer than that. But we've had plenty of questions on the fan protests. We're inundated, to be honest, on where we stand on it and on what the latest news is. I spoke to Chris off air before we came on about the fact that I'm not on Twitter, and I'm curious to hear updates and see what's going on. So first of all, Chris, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
Top man, but listen, I'm going to open up, Chris, with a quite an open question. Again, what's going on, and how have the current protests evolved?
So we basically when we did the first one, we obviously everyone was expecting Lampard to get sacked, weren't they? It's how long it took, and then I've been involved with NSNR, or when it was the 27 campaign in the past, and we've looked at things. And for instance, the protest when Pereira was on Sky Sports News, and it looked like he was getting in the job, which I personally thought, was going to be a disaster. If you look at his career since then, it has been. I weren't bothered. I'll be honest, I weren't 100% on Lampard, but I prefer him to Pereira. I just didn't want Pereira. So then I did I just put a finger up and saying, we can't have this. He's going to take us down. And there was a protest at Goodison, if none of you remember, at the Dixie Dean in about 5-6. So I organised that. It was actually from the amateur footy team's accounts. I didn't have Twitter then.
Class.
We just had that. And it worked. So then I got kind of invited into the 27 campaign. It just started. I obviously knew a lot of people who were in it anyway. And it just went from there, really. And then I come out of the campaign for whatever reason. I weren't happy with a couple of things and the way people were acting in it. And I was getting a lot of shit online, which I weren't too bothered about. But I was literally, me bed was about to pop up with my daughter who've got now. And I was like, I can't be bothered with this. I've got people arguing all day, every day. So I kind of stepped away from it. But I was looking at things in the background. And then when I went to Bournemouth away, the league one.
Yeah.
Sorry, went the cup one, the midweek one, and I was coming home from it, and I was just like, I'm sick of this. Just going out. Over the years, I've been everywhere. I've gone the majority of games, and a few, like the girls I speak to, Gemma, Katie, Hannah, and then a couple of lads off the break, and people like that we speak, because we need to do something about this. And then so we started speaking to more match-going Evertonians, people we know, lads and girls we know who go to game, and was like, what about if we do this? So we decided to try and push this protest march at Arsenal. And I'll be honest, they expected 500, 1,000 there. And we must have got between 2,000 and 3,000. Have you seen the picture of the aerial one? That was obviously the reason why I chose. Well, Katie said that route from the Oak to the ground is because it might look busier than it was, because people were walking up. That was the reason of doing it. And some people mentioned marching, going to the Liver buildings, going to Bramley Moor, and I was like, well, let's use match going traffic to our advantage. And it obviously went booming. And the next one was busy again. The last one, really busy again, which is brilliant with the kids. And then we've had the meeting in the Hot Walk, which you mentioned earlier, and it's just gone from there. And loads of people are sending ideas. We've had some great ideas. We've had some absolutely daft ideas, but it's not like, obviously I've been a big push behind it, and so have the girls, but it's an open book if anyone wants to get involved. And it's kind of developed from there, and we're getting good numbers, but I just think we're struggling to get people out the pub. That's why I've said about coming on here and a couple of other podcasts and channels this week.
I think it's hard enough for some people watching Everton, mate. So I think the pub sometimes is a bit of a relief. But so I get that challenge.
But years ago, when Katie, for instance, was doing the Blue Union stuff and the lads were doing the marches and stuff against Kemnite before Mashiri was even around, I was one of those people. I agreed with it.
Yeah.
I agreed with what they were marching for because we've been crap me all life of watching Everton, and obviously financially and commercially we're terrible as a company. And I was just like, I'd rather go and have me pint at the match. Well, back then when I was younger, you were out for 9 o'clock, or we were 3 o'clock kickoff or 10 o'clock. So I was, I was one of those people. But now it's like, when you get to the point, like I've had a daughter, I'm not gonna force her to be she's got to be an Evertonian. I'm not gonna force her to go to the match or not. Like if he had a lad, he'd be going to the match whether he liked it or not. But but if it makes me, like my nephew, I've been taking him the game since he was 5. He's 12 now. He's had 7 season tickets, and sometimes now we can't be asked going. He's like, why? It's crap. It's the crap. It'll just ruin my weekend. And I'm like, it shouldn't be like that.
No.
We were crap when I was growing up, but obviously we've had some decent seasons in the last 15 years. Got in Europe a couple of times, and his dad's a Red. He tried to make him a Red. And I took on the match, and he just fell in love with Everton. So I'm like, why should this generation have to go through the shit that I've gone through? I'm only 33. I've still got, hopefully 40, 50 more years of following Everton. I'm sick of wasting money on shite, basically. And I know the majority of this fan base are the same. You've got the people on Twitter who were like, oh yeah, well, Kemnite didn't pick the team, or Kemnite didn't do this, or Mashiri didn't do that. If that's their opinion, that's great. I've given up arguing and trying to turn people. But I know there's a lot of people who agree with us. So I think as match going, it's great having Evertonians all around the world. I've got no problem with them. Got no problem with Evertonians from London and stuff like that, or up north, Scotland, in Ireland. If they go to the game, great. But it's them people who are going the game that can change things. All Twitter campaigns and stuff in the papers are great, but people marching, Sky are all over it. It's one of the biggest stories for Sky this year. Everton fans and Sky and Mashiri and Kemnite are all about image. Millionaires and billionaires are all about image. If we can tarnish their image, then we will get change, and we are doing it. And it's working to a point, but I think we just need to get to that next level. And the people who aren't going to them marches, I want to know why they're not going. I want to incorporate their match day routine into some type of protest, because it'll go 10 times more than what we might get 30,000 people joining in, where they don't really have to do nothing outside their routine. So that's the big thing for me of getting it to a point where we can get people who agree with us to work with us and do it. Because once you get to that point, look at Valencia last week, it was massive. They all stayed out the ground, and that is huge. They won't be there much longer, them owners, I guarantee you. If we get to that point.
No, thanks, Chris. That's a really good intro. I took you through a few questions last night, so I'm gonna take you through them if you don't mind, because I think these will be really helpful in terms of helping you to achieve what you're trying to achieve as a group, which is highly commendable. And I've got to stay at this point, and this is admittedly, obviously, I came along to the hot walk. I'm fully in support of what you're doing. I definitely still fall into that latter category, unfortunately, in terms of me not, getting in on their marches. And I'll come back to that later. And that's not, again, from a place of disagreeing. It's from a little bit of a place of uncertainty, but we'll come on to that in a moment. So I think the first one for me is, what are you, and this might sound like a stupid question, what are you hoping to achieve, or what as a group, what are you hoping to get from the protests, short and long term?
So as a group of people, I can't answer that because everyone's different.
I get that, what I mean, but I'm talking about the one.
Yeah, me personally, it's just a better football club, a better Everton. I want to go to away games confident. I want to go to home games thinking, right, we're gonna get 3 points here. I'm gonna have a good bevy after it, and it's gonna make me weekend instead of ruining it. I get it. We're a million miles away from winning trophies and challenging. I just want to enjoy going to a match again. I want to enjoy being an Evertonian, and that's basically it for me. Eventually, I think football's in cycles. We will hopefully get back to being a top team and having a little period of success. If we get one of them in my life, I'll die a happy man. Do you know what I mean? But we're a million miles away. I just want to enjoy going. I don't want Everton to be the only negative in my life anymore. And that's it. I'm happy. I do all right in work. I've got a couple of businesses that are pretty successful, doing okay. My home life, my family life's great. Everton, I play football. I manage a footy team, and that's doing great. Everton are just the only negative in my life, and I know so many people who are the same, and it just depresses you. I just want a better football club.
No, listen, mate, I couldn't have any more understanding or empathy on that level. I'm in exactly the same boat. So, you're selling me so far. Do you think, and this is coming on, I guess, from the board's perspective, the protests, as you say, from your point of view, are about trying to get a better Everton. Do you think the board are actually taking notice at this point? And if so, to what extent?
Yeah, 100%. When I was in the 27 campaign, we did an open letter, and it was embargoed. It went out to the media on the Tuesday night. It went out to the media, and the letter was coming out on Friday at a certain time, where it was going to get the most reaction and people seeing it. And it was going out to like papers and websites and stuff across the internet. It was going out on Twitter, everyone's personal accounts and stuff. And Everton, we sent that out, and Everton got wind of it and released a statement from the club about Mashiri communicating. You'll probably remember he was saying that he's going to try and communicate more. And it was basically him answering our letter that we'd embargoed. So someone in the media had sent it to someone. Obviously, it'll be Prentice and his mate, or one of his mates, which, I get that. And Everton reacted to it. And then when we did when I said about the protest about Pereira, Everton reacted to that protest and didn't give Pereira the job. Lampard, I met Lampard, and loads of people give us shit for meeting Lampard because I was involved in the atmosphere stuff. And when it kept us up, and I met Lampard after it, and he basically told me to me face that protest got him the job. And he said, and I said, I'll be honest with you, I didn't set out to get you the job. I set out in a protest to not have him here because he was, in my opinion, he was a bomb pot. It would have went sour quickly, and we would have went down. And we nearly went down under Lampard, so we would have been well gone under him. And he said, my agent rang me when the protest was on Sky Sports. I spoke to Alan Myers, and Alan Myers got us in touch with Sky Sports. And they come out. I met, I think it was Vinny O'Connor, that we met, and he was there, and he was interviewing a couple of people and stuff. And Lampard said, his agent rang him and said, listen, you're back in here. What he's done today, he on Sky and this protest, he's never getting a job. So the club reacted to that. They've reacted to other things, and so I know I've seen it firsthand that they react. And someone else who was in the 27 campaign, I can't really name him. He's someone he's not high profile himself, but he works with someone who's high profile. Told us that he's met Mashiri and he's dealt with Mashiri in the past, and he's so image conscious. If you tarnish his image, he will react, and he's reacted recently and said he basically blamed the fans for sacking managers. So that proves yourself that he's reacted to the fans putting pressure on him. So I know that we will get what we want eventually, and I'll be not so much because we're putting pressure on them, because Ken Knight can't be the chairman much longer. He's terminally ill. Yeah. He's nearly 80. So if it makes him think, oh, do you know what, I'll spew it a year early, or I'll spew it 2 years early, then great. Like I say, it's not personal against him. It's not personal against anyone on the board. They're just not very good at the job, and it's proven. So why Mashiri hasn't done nothing about it, I don't know. But like I say, if it starts hitting him in the pocket, or starts hitting him, commercially in terms of sponsors and stuff, he's got to do something about it.
Of course, yeah. Listen.
So yeah, like I say, I know.
No, and listen, that's really really useful, particularly the context around Lampard, and just on that particular point, and some of the others you've touched on there. I think that in itself, in terms of how reactive the board are in terms of changing policy, appointing a manager or not appointing a manager on the back of protest, is pathetic in itself, isn't it? I mean, obviously you're looking for a reaction here from the club, from the board, from Ken Wright, but that in itself shows how weak they are as a business, and how little foresight they've got in terms of, they're believing in their own strategy.
Yeah, well, look, they got wind of the protests, and they got wind of stuff going on, and people being unhappy. And look what they did at the Southampton game with Denise, apparently getting in a headlock. That is so amateur. It's unbelievable that they've been advised to do that. It's at least think of something better than that. If you're gonna make a lie up, make a decent one up. But it's proven that they will react. But that's my biggest thing. That they do react. That's my biggest thing with this football club, is they are a reactive football club. I think Carragher said it, and he said that they react to situations instead of being proactive. In any walk of life, if you're proactive, You do something about a problem that's down the line. You've solved the problem before it happens. We wait till transfer. Yeah, we wait till transfer deadline day to make signings every single transfer window, and everyone moans about it, and every other club, try and avoid it. And it's like we do it. It's like we enjoy it. Like it's just that's my biggest issue with them as a club, is that the reactive, not proactive. Lampard got sacked, and he didn't even interview anyone until he'd been sacked. Why didn't they have a 6-week break? He knew that if he was going to lose, he was eventually have to go to games. He have to go. So why weren't they interviewing people in December? Like it's I could sit here and go on all day. It's so annoying. But that's the biggest thing for me, is that they do react, and it shows how poor they are by reacting to fans. They shouldn't be. I'm a plumber. I'd say I own a plumbing company, and I wouldn't have a spark telling me what to do. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a commercial genius, a football club commercial genius, and so why are they listening to us? I'm not an expert on football or a scout or whatever. Like why are they listening to us? It's because they haven't got a clue themselves. They should be coming out and going, listen, we run this club. We'll run this club how we see fit. Yeah. When we run the club and we have negative performance on the pitch or off the pitch, then you can come for us. But he can't do that because he's had nothing but negative performance. If I was a manager of Everton and people were saying to me in the street, why aren't you playing 4-4-2? I say, well, I'll play what formation I want to play. And when I fail, that's when you can have a go. Let me fail first. But the issue with these is they've failed for 30 years. Ken Wright, he's been on the board. We've been a failure since he's been on there. So they haven't got that leg to stand on. So they dug a hole he can't get out of for me. Like.
Yeah, no, listen, really strong response. This one, I guess you can address this one to me, and I'm not saying I'm in the disagree camp, but one of my questions was a bit of a follow-up to whether the board are taking notice, and that was directed towards maybe some of the fans who disagree with the protest, because there are a minority of fans who are just literally against it, don't believe that it's productive. What would you say to them? I guess that probably follows on to the point you were making there about the club will respond.
In terms of being productive, luckily for us at that Arsenal game, we won 1-0, and it was great, and the atmosphere was great in Goodison. And some people attributed that to the protest because there was loads of singing, and you're going in the ground a bit vexed up, and great. That's what Goodison's like when it's at its best. But the next game we won again, which is great. And then we've got beat on Saturday, so we've had a bit of shit from Saturday. So what we do outside the ground, as long as the play, it can't affect it. Dyche has said himself, it's not affecting the players. So what we do in the ground is also a problem for me. I've been involved in the atmosphere in the 1878 group thing since the start, really, and Goodison is a problem. Sometimes it's brilliant. Sometimes it's a problem. So I don't want to take anything into the ground personally, because I know these players are like, and this squad's like that. They can. They give them the fragile, you give them an excuse. A lot of them will tend to use it. So I want to keep it out the ground. But if people want to take it in the ground, and the majority do, then that's what we'll do, because it's not my decision. It's not someone's decision. It's a group. It's a group of match-going fans, and that group could be 10,000 people. We've got to find a way to get the ideas or their votes, then we will do. So it's for me, it's productive in the long run, because if we get rid of these and we get a new board in place and we ran better and we become a better football club, then it's productive. It might be one step back to take 2 forward or 3 forward. If that's the case, then so be it. We've been taking steps back for years. So it is what it is. Sometimes you've got to take a bit of rough with the smooth, haven't you? Well, in this case, you've got to take a bit of rough to get to the smooth. But it's for me, it's not affecting in Goodison Park at the moment, and it's away from home. The flags have been so away from home. We've been crap away from home for since the 80s. So I don't think a few flags against the board are any bad, as long as we support the team. But you can say it. I get what people are saying about Goodison. I think it's an easy get out, like. Because I don't want to affect the team. But one of them, what do we do? Do we wait till we're relegated?
Well, that was going to be next. Yeah, that's it. That was going to be my next question, to be fair. I didn't actually put this to you before, but it's quite an obvious follow-up. when does it end? And I guess you'll say, look, you never stop supporting your club, and if you feel as a fan, and you, in fairness, you're talking about your own opinions here. You're not trying to, put everyone in a basket or whatever with yourself. But as a fan, when would you feel that it's necessary to stop protesting? Is it about the team performing on the pitch, or are you waiting for? Is there a certain milestone? Is it Ken Wright stepping down? Is it a lot of things?
I'll be honest, a few people who I speak to, who get involved and put their opinions forward, just hate Ken Wright for what he's done to this football club, and I agree with them. It's not about Ken Wright for me. It's about a better club, and if Mashiri gets this investment in, I had this conversation last week. If the investment comes in and they want 2 specs on the board, then they come on the board, and we start seeing improvements because these are actual football people or commercial people or sports people who are experienced and have a proven track record of success. And as far as I'm concerned, let them get on with it.
I was going to say,
it is what it is.
That's a point, isn't it? You're a businessman. Do you know what I mean? You've said that, whatever level, you understand that there's a process. Well, I know that word's overused by managers and it become a bit of a cliche, a process, but in using that example in particular, if investment comes in, if a couple of people occupy the board that have got strategic input, and you see the remnants of some kind of structure and shape about the club, does that mean you personally would think, I think I need to step back here and allow this process to take place before we go back to protesting again?
Yeah, yeah, that would be the case, because if we got a new manager, we got Dyche. I personally think he was the right man at the right time. I think if Lampard would have got sacked in December, Dyche wouldn't have been anywhere near the job. But anyway, so we've got Dyche. We've got to give him time. There's no difference in being a new chairman. We've got to give a new chairman time, and it's probably a lot longer than what you'd give a manager. You need to give him 2-3 years, and it's as sad as it is. That's the reality of it. If someone comes in, whether it's Amanda Staveley comes over from Newcastle and she becomes a chairman, you've got to give it time, or Bruce Buck who was at Chelsea, or David Dean, or someone like that. Like, we'd all be made up of them. Doesn't mean to say that they'll be a success. We were all made up when we got Ancelotti, and look what happened there. He was gone a year late. You don't know what's going to happen, so you've got to give him or her time to go in. Look at the club. It'll probably take us 6 months, or him 6 months, to get in that position and have a look and look around and see how things are working and slowly make changes. Because I guarantee you, no one who comes in this football club rips it up and starts again. They will change things slowly. They'll make small changes eventually, which will have a big impact. Because you don't go into business and rip it up and start again and make all these big massive changes, because you need the original staff on side, whether they're going or staying or not. They need them on side. So if Ken Knight, chairman, runs the club, I don't care what anyone says. Simon Jordan always says, "Oh, this owner puts all that money in. He makes the decision." No, he said it himself. Ken Knight runs the club. He's the chairman. Baxendale's the CEO. She runs the club football and stadium side of things. So if they're the 2 main positions on the board, as far as I'm concerned, if you've got 2 new people in them, then we as a fan base have got to take a step back, give them the time to do their job, and if they get it wrong, then we've got to do something about it again, haven't we? Or the owner has. Ideally, if someone come in tomorrow and bought Everton, I'd be on the aisle. If he's gone, he's an absolute nutter, isn't he? He's a barn pot, and he's the issue. But I know, being on boards, that just because he's the majority shareholder, there's ways and means of getting what you want out of him. Be strong with him, tell him, prove to him that what he's doing is not working, and show him another way that is going to work. And I say he's an idiot, he's a billionaire. Do you know what I mean? He's not an idiot in layman's terms and like business thinking. Obviously, he's made some stupid decisions. If anything, that should benefit us going forward if he's going to stay as our manager, because if he's got a strong board in place who will rein him in and tell him, we're doing this. And by the way, if he goes ahead of them, above them, then he needs to walk. This board should have walked if he's undermining them. And then the fans would be all over Mashiri going, "What are you doing? Why are you getting involved on things that..." He's not a football man, he's an accountant. So let accountants deal with numbers, let football people deal with football clubs. Simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're spot on in terms of the psychology of it all, though, because, I mean, being on a board myself and stuff, and working around people who are perceivably more powerful than me because they got a stronger position, whether it's through shares or through experience or seniority, you have got to be very strong. You've got to have a strong mentality. You've got to have, you've got to be forthright with your ideas, but you've also got to be clever with the way you put your ideas across. If you make it about a power struggle, they'll win that battle all the time. But if you make them feel like it's their idea and you plant that seed and you do it over the course of time, that's what good strategic people do. And you're spot on. I don't think we've got any of that on the board whatsoever. We've got a lot of yes men. Yes, I say a lot. We've got a few yes men and yes people. We've got people who owe favours to other people, which, we don't have to mention names. It's obvious who they are. And I think that, without doubt, stands out in terms of the issues we've got in there.
Because a lot of these issues of people who are at executive level is ego. So if you like you just said there, if you create an idea and you say, listen, you paint it up to look like it's his idea and he's going to look great if it works, and they're going to go for it, because all they're after is people to go, oh yeah, well done. A lot of people, when he's a billionaire, it looks like he knows what he's doing is more important to him than money, because he's got enough money to last him 10 lifetimes being a billionaire. So he's making it sound to him in a certain way. That's how you should be on a board. And if he's going to undermine you, you've got to put your resignation in. And the reason why I want this board out so much, they haven't put a resignation in because they're all on the little cliff, because they've got nowhere else to go, because they're proven to be poor at what they do. You'll never get that money anywhere else because they're poor at what they do, and the CVs are terrible. Denise Baxendale's CV is an absolute disgrace, considering she is a CEO of a £250 million company. Turnover per year. My CV is better than hers. I'm telling you now, it's embarrassing. And I wouldn't last 5 minutes as a CEO of a football club. I'd be out my depth. It's what, but like I say, having a strong board in place will make your own and act better. You look at Chelsea's owner or the Newcastle owners. You're telling me that Saudis at Newcastle signed the players? They went and bought Dan Burn, did they? No, they didn't.
No.
The lad they got from Brighton got him, and then it went through the chain of command, through the board to the owner, and he's trusting the people he's put in place. I wouldn't be surprised if Mashiri is getting involved in things because he doesn't trust the people that he's got in place.
No, listen, you're spot on. I couldn't agree more. Certainly, your last response or your answer around what you as a fan, and I guess and again to reiterate, you're not talking about anyone else, but you generalise on what the process stands for. I think that's a really realistic objective in terms of replacing a few board members, which in your words can make a huge difference in terms of the dynamic of the club. Obviously, the owner, in my opinion, I don't think the owner's going anywhere until that new stadium is open, because that's where a lot of his eggs are in terms of investments and getting a return on his investment. But I think, I'm really encouraged by, that the fact that you've demonstrated yourself in terms of the examples that the board and the club have been reactionary in the past, specifically, and also that what you're hoping to achieve from the process, which I think is more unrealistic, is simply a bit of change at the top, and that you will give people time, because I think, and I'm talking now from my position, and I'm trying to kind of get into the psyche of people who completely disagree with it. I guess they're thinking, you haven't got a divine right to just be a successful football club. And do you think these protests are going to change this on the pitch and that on the pitch? But what you're saying makes complete sense. And, I'm certainly a lot more encouraged to get behind and be proactive because of that.
Yeah, like I say, me organising a protest for Brentford doesn't mean that Morpay's going to, put one in the top bin and we're going to win 1-0. You can only, in any walk of life, I always say this to our lads when I play footy team I manage, there's only certain things you can control. You can control, how hard you're going to work, how much you want to win, and your personal battles. Sometimes you can't control a personal battle because the other player's better than you. It's simple as. But that's the same at Everton. Like, what we can control is how the fan base are perceived by the board, and if the fan base are perceived, the owner, if the fan base are perceived as majority unhappy, and the majority of them want this board gone, eventually we are paying customers. We're not just fans. We're paying customers. Eventually, they will have to act on that. Like any manager, if any manager loses the fan base, they're gone. You very rarely see a manager turn it round. When you've lost like like Lampard's record, for instance, it's very rare that it gets turned around because they haven't got the fans on. And Lampard did have the fans on side, but once you get in that hole, you can't get out of it. And it's the same with the board. And if you're in business or work yourself, you'll hear the saying, shit rolls downhill. Shit rolls downhill. And it's ended up with the supporters, and we've had to deal with it for years. But blame goes uphill, and that's the only thing that we're the only football club that doesn't happen at. The chairman, if you look at the soundbites of the club, the chairman's never done anything wrong in 28 years or 30 years. The CEO has never done anything wrong. She's not been to blame for anything. The only people who've been accountable are Marcel Brands, Steve Walsh, the managers that have all been sacked, and now Kevin Felwell is slowly starting to be through under the bus. Because his job is to sign players, and we didn't sign anyone in January, but we sold someone for 40 million. So he's accountable for that, as far as I'm concerned. But who's accountable for employing him? Who's accountable for the mistakes that I've made before him? So the blame rolls uphill in every other business. If one of my lads, well, I'd say the story now, we were doing a job in Heswell, and one of my lads, I hope he's not listening to this because he's never telling me, but he was soldering pipework behind the boiler, and the insulation in the wall went up, and the house went on fire. And it was an extension onto a house, and the roof burnt down. But the house it burnt down, and it's going through insurance and all that. It was just a mistake. He's the best plumber we've got. He's a proper lovely fella, and it was just a mistake. And I took the blame for that. I had to take the blame for it. It's my company, so I took him out the final line. Went to stop what I was doing. Went to site. Dealt with it. Our client was brilliant with him. And just, it was a mistake. It was just one of them things. It could have been anyone. It could have been me who was sold it. And the insurance company, I've dealt with it. So took him out the final line. As far as I'm concerned, that's my problem, not his. I said to him, you go to work on Monday, you forget it's even happened. Don't worry about it. He was thinking he was getting sacked and all that. So the blame lies with me. I took it on the chin. That's never happened at our football club. Our chairman has never come out and said, I got this wrong. I got that wrong. And maybe people would accept him as a chairman more if he was like that, because it's impossible to get 100% of the things right 100% of the time. But as far as we're concerned, and the sound bites we have out of this football club and the little communication we do have, it's never his fault. It's never the CEO's fault. It's never Graham Sharp's on the board. I know he doesn't. We all know he doesn't make decisions. But I'll tell you now, he'll be through under the bus before Ken Knight or Baxendale. Yeah,
without doubt. No, I said that when bollocks responses come out last week to the questions that were put to the board and to Mashiri. Every one of them, I said, I haven't heard them once turn around and go, listen, we got that wrong. We've learned from it, we've done this. All of the again, I can't even think of a better word than bollocks around, like, dancing around what that strategic review was and what the outcomes were and whatever. Anyone would have even listen, we could go on another.
It's like me and you. It's like me and you. It's like me and you doing this podcast now and meeting up after it's everyone's listened to it and marking ourselves on this podcast and go, yeah, you got a 10 there, I got a 10 there, you got a 10 there out of 10. So that's basically what the strategic review was. They're marking their own homework. You'll never fail a test that you mark yourself. But it just goes to show how inept they are, that they don't think that we'll think that. Do you know what I mean? Surely they think there's some people in the Everton fan base, and I'm not talking me here. I'm talking about people who are much, much higher level in business and better jobs and better careers than me, who are Evertonians, who are going to be thinking, are these for real? It's like the marking of their own homework. That is a layman's terms way of saying it. Is literally the marking of their own homework, and they've never come out ever. This football club have never come out and say we got that wrong. He should have come out and said, Mashiri, when he said about the fans, he should have come out and said, I listened to the fans against Lampard to get Lampard in, and I shouldn't have because it was a mistake. Simple. And if he would have said that, then I would have been like, all right, fair enough. He's right. He shouldn't be listening to us.
I said them exact words several times when Millsy made me control through all them responses, and I just said, look, a bit of admission and hands up every now and again would go so far. Even a bit of admission to say, look, we're aware that the board is threadbare. We're aware that we're lacking expertise in these areas. If we'd have been some headlines from this so-called strategic review and some of it was just exposing some of the things that were going on, you'd probably be thinking, all right, listen, the start, and at least that process is underway of admission. but as you say, they're nowhere near it, and it's just smoke screens, but it's piss poor smoke screens. That it as you say, that it's insulting.
Who is advising them though? Do you know what I mean? Like, because that what they put out last week is basically a politician's way of saying things, but poorly worded.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So they said a lot about nothing, and then the stuff about the headlock stuff, like, do you know what I mean? It's a woman in a headlock. No, seriously, like, like I know a lot of people who emailed the club about that, who's women, and mums who I've spoke to, who emailed is it Dave Lewis, the head of security, or Dave? I think it's Dave Lewis, the head of security at Everton, saying, like, why has this been released at 2:00? Has this person been caught? Are they in the ground still? Someone's grabbed the girls after the match the other week, and within 2 weeks, we banned for life in Goodison. And this person's assaulted a woman. Who is it? Are we safe to go to the game? And not one of them emails have been replied to. I know not one. There's about 15 emails, and not one of them have been replied to from Everton Football Club. And like, that tells you everything about that. The police have said that nothing come through. So when you say, like, it's like when you go out on a night out and you tell a blag to your birds why you got in at 5 a.m. after telling you you'd be home at 10 o'clock. Like, you say something stupid.
I've never done that.
So, but you say something stupid because you're pissed, don't you? And the next day you think, what the fuck did I say that for? Like, that's what it's like they've done, where they've said something stupid and been like, and the next day, but they were sober. They were in work. They're all sitting there in suits and made it up, and it's just unbelievable. Like, it tells you no one's advising them, but it shows you how out of touch they are with the fan base.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we could definitely go on all day, and I know you're still busy and working on yourself. But thanks so much for your time, Chris. For the fans who are watching on YouTube, whether you're blue, whoever you support, please give Chris a follow on Twitter. Sorry about that, Chris. You're going to get bombarded even more now. It's at Top Balk 4, so it's Top Balcony. Top Balk is in Top Balcony. Number 4, Top BLC. Number 4. Give Chris a follow. Again, Chris, you've convinced me. I'll be on the next march. Not to jump on your bandwagon, but I completely agree with the notion, and particularly behind the fact that what might seem like small changes, it's not a huge ask. I think as you put so many times in this chat, the board, the club have been shown to be reactionary. If they can be reactionary in removing a couple of key board members, replacing them with more strategic people, hopefully followed or joined by investments, we and yourself and other fans will be given those leaders or those new leaders time, which I think they would be due in return. But Chris, again, I don't want to talk for you. That's my take from all the really poignant things you've just said. I look forward to seeing you at the Brentford game and future games. And thanks for your time, mate.
All right, thanks very much. See you soon.
See you soon, mate. Bye.